In this video, I'm going to teach you how to roast the perfect chicken. Chicken is so versatile, it can be used for so many dishes, and you can really add whatever flavor you want. It's kind of like a blank slate, I like to think of it. So I'm roasting 2 chickens. I'm going to make use of my time in the kitchen, kind of double duty here, and make 2 so that I can use them for leftovers. Now the way to roast the perfect chicken is to get good seasoning on the chicken, and I'm going to teach you a technique where we rotate the chicken throughout the cooking process, and it will have crispy skin and really kind of look like a rotisserie chicken. So we start with 2 organic whole chickens. Obviously the insides are removed, and what I've already cut up in the bottom of this roasting pan, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but I have some onion, some lemon slices, and I also had some celery that I threw in. If I had some carrots that were maybe kind of going bad, I might throw those in as well. If I had some fresh herbs, especially rosemary and thyme, those would be delicious to flavor the chicken as well. But I don't have any of those on hand, so that's okay. This is still going to be super delicious. So I'll start with my 2 chickens, and I'll take some olive oil. And the roasting time is going to be the same, for that. Just because I'm adding another one, I'm actually just helping myself out here again for leftovers. What I love to do is make chicken salad with the leftovers. My kids actually really love homemade chicken noodle soup and also chicken pot pie. So I'll probably use this leftover chicken for some of those dishes. So I'm just sprinkling some salt on. And there is a link here also on your Trello board for this recipe on how to roast the perfect chicken. So don't worry about having to write this down. You'll have the link there when you're ready to make it. Fresh ground black peppers going on next. All right, and I just like to kind of get in there and massage this around under the skin of the chicken, right up against, the meat of the bird. And often I will also just take some of those lemon slices and just stuff it right underneath the chicken there, underneath that skin. There we go. And that's just going to, again, flavor that meat even more, even better. So we'll just stick that under, and I think I have another slice down here. Here we go. Okay, perfect. Now, I'm going to go ahead and flip the chicken over. And remember, we need to be very cognizant of food safety here. So I don't want to cross-contaminate, so I'm going to wash my hands. I'm just going to step to the side and wash my hands really quickly with some soap. Okay, great. And then I'm just going to do the same thing to the other side. A little bit of olive oil. And a little bit more salt and pepper. There we go. Now just rub that in. And this technique is kind of unique. I didn't mean to rhyme, but this technique is kind of unique. We start the chicken on its side. Doesn't matter which side, you just start the chicken out on its side. This right here is how it's going to go in the oven. Now I have my oven preheated at 400 degrees. This is going to go in for 25 minutes, and then we're going to rotate. So I'll actually set a timer because this is pretty precise. You need to be pretty precise about it. Before I put the chicken in, I do have half a cup of water that I'll just pour right in the bottom. And what this does is it just helps it to steam a little bit and to cook thoroughly. Now this chicken was thawed out, and I actually had laid the chickens, both of the chickens, out at room temperature so that they could kind of come to room temperature for about an hour. Now these could sit out for 2 hours, but no more than 2 hours, or else you run the risk of contamination, bacteria forming. So they could sit out at room temperature for about 2 hours. Just to, again, bring the temperature down so that when we start to cook it, it actually cooks more evenly when we bring it to more of a room temperature versus putting it in the oven extremely cold. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, and then I'll show you the additional steps once we get to those. Okay, I have the first step of my chicken complete. I set my timer. This is what my little timer looks like. You could totally use the timer on your phone or iPad, or maybe even on your oven. You have a timer. Set that for 25 minutes. And I roasted the chicken on its side for 25 minutes. The next step is going to be to take your chicken, just be careful, have some tongs, and turn it on its other side. Just get that kind of down in there. Make sure it's kind of sitting as even as possible. There we go. Get this other one, turn it on its side. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to put this back into the oven. I'm going to set my timer for 25 minutes again and roast it on the other side for 25 minutes. Okay, another 25 minutes have passed, and you can see how yummy and brown my chicken is starting to get. So the next step is to take that chicken and to turn it onto its breast side. So back side up, breast side down. This time, that's super easy. This time we're going to set our timer for 10 minutes and pop it back into the oven, roast it another 10 minutes. All right, and last step here. See how brown and yummy these are looking? Last step is to turn them over onto their back side, breast up. So we'll just get these turned, and we'll pop them back into the oven for another 10 minutes. Set the timer, 10 minutes, and I'll show you the final product. Okay guys, this is my final product. Look how yummy and brown the top of this chicken is. You can probably see this one right here best. I'm going to kind of tilt it a little bit, but look how yummy that got. I want to give you another tip. I placed a thermometer. I think we talked about in another video that this was kind of, to me, an essential tool in the kitchen, especially when you're new to cooking a lot. A lot of fear is based around not cooking meat properly. So get you some of these. This is just, I picked up a pack that had, this one is specifically for poultry, so it makes it super easy. It had poultry, beef, pork, and I think they were like maybe $2 or $3. I got them at Walmart, so you're not having to invest a lot of money in there. But you want to always, especially in chicken, to put this right in sort of the joint of the leg, because that's where the dark meat is, and it takes the dark meat a little bit longer to cook through thoroughly, but you just want to make sure, and mine came up to 165, which is the proper temperature for cooking poultry. But you don't want to overcook either, because then your chicken dries out. So a thermometer is really a handy tool to have. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and just take a little bit of tin foil and just put right over it, just to kind of tint it to keep it warm until I'm ready to eat it, to serve it. And then whatever I have left over, obviously I roasted extra, as I mentioned, for future meals, but whatever I have left over, I'm going to let come to a room temperature before I put it into the refrigerator. That's important. You don't want to put something that is steaming hot out of the oven into the refrigerator. You want to let it come to room temperature and then store it properly in your refrigerator. Another tip with these whole chickens, do not let those bones and what we call the chicken carcass, even though that's not a lovely word, don't let that go to waste. Save that, even if you need to freeze it, and use it for homemade chicken stock. You can refer back to the video on how to make homemade chicken stock and see that I used a chicken carcass in that. So I will definitely be saving these, whether I can make stock right away or not. One last thing, the vegetables that we placed in the bottom here, those were really just for flavoring. I'm not going to eat those. There would be nothing wrong with that if you wanted to, but you know, I used some that I just kind of had that were kind of going bad in my refrigerator to impart that flavor. So I'm just going to discard those, and there weren't much of them, so I'm not, you know, wasting a lot. And I did get all of that delicious flavor in there. So try this method. It's a total of about an hour and 10 minutes if you look at the roasting times. And again, look at the link to the recipe and you'll find that this is really the perfect chicken. We'll see you on the next session of Kitchen Coaching.